today's lesson, we will take a look at all of the functions of angles found on the reference sheets, sum, difference, double, and half angles. Let's start off by looking at our first example, which is the sum of two angles, as indicated by sine of a plus b. They give us a certain amount of information. If sine of angle A equals 4/5, tangent B equals 5/12, and angles A and B are in quadrant 1, what is the value of sine of A plus B? So this information up here is enough for us to draw a picture of angle A. Here's angle A with leg 4, hypotenuse 5, and we know that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So now we know what this leg is here, the horizontal leg. The next angle is B, and from the given information, we know that B looks like this. Because it is tangent of B is 5/12, we know it's opposite or adjacent, and the hypotenuse is 13 because this is a 5, 12, 13 triangle. So now that we have this much information, we can definitely find all 6 trig functions if we needed to. Because we are asked to find sine of A plus B, we look on our reference sheet, and over here where the check mark is, we have sine of A plus B equals sine of A times cosine B plus cosine A times sine B. So these are all easy to get because we have these triangles down here. So sine of A is 4/5, that's given. Cosine of B is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 12/13. That's easy. Cosine of A is adjacent over hypotenuse, is 3/5. And sine of B is opposite over hypotenuse, 5/13. So now basically we have a big fractions problem. Fortunately, we're going to end up with a common denominator. And 48 plus 15 is 63 with denominator 65. That's the answer to number 1. Now we're going to take a look at how to do number 1 on the calculator. So we need to use the inverse of sine on both sides in order to find out what A is. Whatever that A is, we're going to store into our variable A. So yes, we are doing some intro to computer programming. We're going to use a store button here. Letter A is you hit alpha, math, and it shows up like this with the arrow. Inverse tangent is the same way. Store that into B, and then since they want us to find sine of A plus B, we type it in exactly like that. Sine of A plus B gives us this decimal, 0.9692, etc. And we change this into a fraction using the math fraction option. And we end up with 63/65. Very simple when you use the calculator. Next example. The expression cosine 40 cosine 10 plus sine 40 sine 10 is equivalent to one of these options. So we're going to look for a match. We're going to go ahead and highlight this. And we're looking for the pattern cosine, cosine, plus sine, sine. So we look down here, and here it is. Cosine, cosine, plus sine, sine. I've already put a check mark here. And they're telling us that this is equivalent to cosine of A minus B. And that's why this is an example of a difference of two angles. So there we have it. I just copied down the formula and put it down under here, and I lined it up so you can see that A is 40 degrees, and B is 10 degrees. A is 40 degrees, B is 10 degrees. That is the information we sort of pull out of this, and very simply enough, we can just say, okay, that means cosine of A minus B is cosine of 40 minus 10, which is cosine of 30 degrees. The answer is 1. Now we're going to do the same thing, but on the calculator. And on the calculator, all you're going to do is type it in exactly as you see it. And you're going to go through your answer choices and match them up, and as you can see, cosine of 30 is 0.866, which is, for those who have memorized the unit circle, it's radical 3 over 2. Okay, here's example 3. Now we're going to investigate functions of the double angle. So here they give us that cosine of x is 4/5. Then cosine of 2x is equivalent to one of these options. Let's look at cosine of 2x, and let's take a look at the formula sheet. Okay, we have several options for cosine of 2x, or cosine of 2a. We have 3 options, this one, or this one. We're going to go with the easiest. They don't give us sine, so that's out. They don't give us sine, so that's out. We're going to go with this one right here. Cosine of a double angle 2a equals 2 cosine squared a minus 1. And here we go. 2 cosine squared, instead of a, we're going to use x because that's what they gave us in the problem, minus 1. So, cosine squared x is really cosine of x in parentheses, all squared. Now we know what cosine of x is. It's given to us as 4/5. So we're going to go ahead and substitute that into there. So we have to square 4/5. Well, what's 4/5 times 4/5? It's 16/25. And we multiply that times 2. So this is basically just some fancy algebra, not really fancy at all, actually. So 2 times 16 is 32/25. We don't multiply the denominator because we have an invisible 1. And you end up with 32/25 minus 1. And I went ahead and changed 1 to 25/25 because we have a common denominator. So the result is 7/25. The answer is 4. Now I wanted to share with you how to do this on the calculator. Just like before, we want to find out what x is, so we need to use inverse cosine, and we end up with 36.9 and some change. Now to find cosine of 2x, we just go ahead and we use the answer button, which you access by hitting second and the negative sign. And that gives us 0.28. We change this to a fraction, and voila, 7/25. Okay, example 4. We're going to go ahead and simply do this on the calculator. As you can see, we have cosine of theta equals 1/8. We want to find sine of theta over 2, so we want to find out what the value of theta is. So we've got to take the inverse cosine of both sides. That cancels that out. And the inverse cosine of 1/8 equals, well, we're going to let the calculator do the work, 82.8 and some change. So in order to find the sine of theta over 2, we use the answer button. Sine of answer divided by 2, we end up with 0.6614378278. And let's change it into a fraction, and look at this. It won't work. Therefore, you must go through all your answer choices, and you will find that radical 7 divided by 4 is a match. And the reason why the calculator cannot change this decimal into a fraction is because this is an irrational number, right? The decimal ends here because the calculator ran out of space. Well, it's irrational, and for those good test takers, the only irrational answer choice is answer 2. So you could actually skip that step, but you might want to do it just in case, just to be safe. So ladies and gentlemen, this is our lesson. I hope you found this useful. You can do this algebraically or with your calculator. Good luck to you.